prune apple trees in Fremont, California in the month of January. Next to me here I have one of my favorite Fuji apples. Tools we're going to use are a pair of gloves. Scotty's over here with me. He's got the loppers, short and long. He's got the pruning shears over there in his hand. I also have a hand pruning saw right here, one of the nice Japanese ones, and if your trees are tall enough, you might want one of these. This is a pole saw. Over here behind me, I have an essential tool. That is the orchard ladder. When pruning apple trees, one of the things that we're going to be looking for first off is the evidence that fire blight may have gotten into the tree. That's a prevalent disease in our area. I see some abnormal bark over here in this area, and I also see some more abnormal bark here. That indicates that there may have been fire blight in that branch. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut these limbs out over here because they seem to have fire blight in them. And it's also in the way of my gate. There we go. Okay. Well, we're taking a break. Scotty's helped me get rid of all the apples that were up in the tree. Considering this is California, there are still apples in the tree in January that are good. In fact, they're real good, okay? The ones that haven't vinegared. What I'm here to show, though, is what I call a decurrent twig. This twig right here is actually hanging downward from the year's growth because there were apples on this twig. The weight of the apples pulls the twigs downward. You see them here, they're here. I'm surrounded by pieces of wood that are dangling downward from the tree. These are heavy, fruitful pieces of wood. The apples drag the branches downward. As they drag them downward, they stop growing in a vigorous vertical type sense, and they start producing these really nice big fruiting spurs. Some of the fruiting spurs on this tree are probably well over a decade old. The tree itself, I believe, has been here for about 14 years. And I think most of the spurs that it started to form in its first year of life are actually still here, still developing. This is going to make a lot of fruit, and we're going to be able to get enough fruit out of this tree to satisfy our needs here, even after removing all the new growth in the upper part of the tree. Over here, I've got some more where the wood is downward hanging, you see. Beautiful downward hanging fruiting spurs. These apples here are the Cox Orange Pippin. It's an antique European apple from England. I believe it's 16 something is probably the date on it. It goes back a long ways. So a real good apple for being able to produce a lot of compact spurs on the inside of the tree, meaning you can really take away almost all of last year's growth after the trees get to be, say, 10 years old, and you'll still have plenty of fruit to eat. Ellen's got the camera focused over there on some branches that are really starting to get pretty interlocked.
I can't even get my finger through it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do something about that. So I guess
there was a branch though that was previously cut too.
Yeah, I'm going to step in there and have a thought about what we need to do. All right, here I am. I'm on the inside of this mass of branches here. Apples and leaves raining down all over me.
Just like the Wizard of Oz.
Right, I'm using the Japanese pruning saw here, and I'm going to go ahead and remove the center piece of wood to clear this obstruction out here. I mean, the biggest thing, worst thing that could happen if we let this go is that the branches would begin to rub together, and eventually we'd have some kind of a graft going on here, so the two trees would become one. Not the worst thing in the world, but it's not a good orchard practice. All right, here we go. I got hold of it. Coming out here, try to get this out without breaking too many of the fruiting spurs. All right, well, after I fought with that, Scotty standing over here suggested, well, Bill, why didn't you use the loppers and go in there and cut that thing in pieces so it would come out easier? That was a real good idea, but, you know, Scotty's kind of camera shy, so he didn't want to say anything while I was talking. So now we'll try that. Here I've got another piece I just took out. I'll go ahead and cut it there and cut it here to make this easier to pull out of the tree. The tree's pretty tight. Getting there. Jeez, look at that. Scott was right. Again, vertical wood right here. I'm going to cut this off to the fruiting spur. This one here get these out of my face. This thing, I'll take it completely out of here. Here's a piece right here. See how this nice vertical shoot? I'm taking this thing clean off to where it came from, right there. Sometimes I'll leave about 2 buds at the bottom because that will sometimes convert it to be a fruiting spur. That can happen. Otherwise, I'm pruning it to outward facing buds on an angle so that the next branch will be flatter. This might turn to a fruiting spur here. So I'm going to take that out and leave a little bit. Okay, they're looking pretty good right here. More or less coppicing the tree to maintain its size right here along the fence as an apple hedge in our landscape. All right, now I've run out of reach, so I'm going in with the loppers. Let's start cutting inward here. Here I am on top of the ladder up in the tree, and I'm going to point this down, see if we can kind of get an idea here of what it was that I was doing. You see my cuts right here along all these branches. What I've left are these nice sideways shoots here in the top of the canopy, and I've turned almost all the wood so that the wood is heading to the sides or is heading downward, and I've reduced the amount of shoots that are going vertical. Here is an area that I haven't touched yet, and you'll see we have these nice long vertical shoots here in the top of the canopy. They're coming down, say to that point right there, and at that point is where we're going to go ahead and reduce these shoots. This one here, again, growing vertical through the canopy. They're thick, there's a lot of them, and they're blocking some of the sunlight into the inside of the tree here. We get better fruit production if we get a little more light in here because the tree is quite thick from all the pruning.
So then you have this branch, this branch, this branch, these two, and then like these here that'll probably be cut.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to pass the camera back down the ladder and I'm going to take after those branches that Ellen's pointing at.
And then these here you're going to leave because these little pieces are all the fruiting buds.
That's right. Those are the fruiting spurs. We want to favor those. That's where next year's crop's going to come from.
Okay.
So the branches that Ellen had been pointing at earlier, I'm up here on top of the tree and I'm cutting them back. I'm cutting these back to like 2 bud spurs, sort of like we would with a grape. That may encourage these vertical branches to become fruiting spurs. It may. It may not. They may take off and just start shooting into outer space again. Some of the ones that look like they're going to do that because they're so strong, I'm taking them off completely. Let's see. All right, I got one more piece of wood right out here.
Where are you at?
There we go. Okay, it's good.
Perfect.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Scotty. It's Pruning Apple Trees in Fremont, California, January 2010.